We do have Milo Yiannopoulos by phone with us, though, right now. So, Milo, just to recap for viewers who are joining us right now, right at the top of the 10 o'clock hour Eastern time, we know you're out in California. Give us just a quick recap of what just happened.
Absolutely. Well, I have a college talk, which is very popular, always oversubscribed, and people love to come and listen to, my contention that free speech is under serious threat on American college campuses from the progressive left, from the social justice left. Well, once again, and we had similar things happen at UW Seattle and UC Davis, they have proven me right. Violent left-wing protesters stormed the building and forced me to be evacuated by police and by my security detail this evening, preventing me from giving the last speech in my tour, which was supposed to be exactly about this problem. So, heavily ironic and very, I think, self-defeating for the social justice left.
Now, Trace Gallagher had given us a detail, and I want to check its accuracy with you. He had said that the university system, the UC system, had told you that you had to pay the security costs. You had to have security because of the threats you got from the anti-free speech agitators outside. But rather than making them pay for the cost of security, you had to bear it. Is that accurate?
Well, this happens everywhere you go, and a lot of people don't know about this. It's a new kind of censorship. It's a slippery tactic that American colleges use. They only ever level at conservatives, only ever speakers they don't like. At the last minute, they impose massive security fees on the students who have invited you. So what they'll basically say is, oh, by the way, you have to come up with $6,500 in 5 days' time, or you can't have the speaker. And they wait right until the last minute to do it. Now, in this case, they absolutely did this again at UC Berkeley. Fortunately, we had a private donor, an anonymous donor, who did not want to be identified for fear of reprisals from the social justice left, come in and say, I will cover this because this is absolutely outrageous. But it happened at UC Davis. It happened at almost every college, that is in the UC system does this. It's a trick they try to pull. They did it at UC Irvine as well, twice, I think. They try to pull this trick every single time. The students are wise to it, but these are 19-year-old kids. They can't always come up with $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 with 5 days' notice. And they do this, strategically. They do it at the last minute, and they do it on purpose to try to derail events where conservative speakers are going to be present.
But what seems so unfair, so perverse about that is there's no mystery as to who some of these protesters are because, as you pointed out, they organize through social media online. So they're identifiable. Some of them aren't, but some of them are. They know that groups are going to protest. And so the school could assess them the security fees, but instead they're blaming you for the violence against you?
Yes, exactly. And it's this sort of Kafkaesque cycle the left always engages in, like feminists who sort of bait men into saying mean things on Twitter and then immediately turn around and play the victim. They create precisely the problem that they say they're there to fix, legitimizing their own position by being the bad actor in the first place. American higher education, these universities have pandered to this social justice, have allowed students to muddy the waters between idea and action, between speech and action, by endorsing this sort of language like safe spaces, student safety. No one's safety is at risk from different opinions. No one's physical safety is endangered by political ideas, from a speaker on campus. But universities have sort of allowed this stuff to happen, even in some cases encouraged it. And then, as you correctly say, they punish speakers who are the victim of precisely what by pandering to social justice, pandering to third-wave feminism, and pandering to Black Lives Matter.
So if you're just joining us now, I just want to reset really quickly. This is the top of Hannity. We're going to be joined by Sean Hannity in just a minute. But an outbreak, a troubling one, of political violence tonight in Berkeley, California, over a speech by Milo Yiannopoulos, who's a well-known author. And you're seeing vehicles burning in the street. You're seeing rocks thrown. Apparently what were fireworks. We haven't confirmed that, but something that sounded like fireworks. And it might have been firearms. Unclear at this point, and no obvious law enforcement presence. What about that, Milo? We have Milo on the phone here. We heard from Trace Gallagher that law enforcement was responding, and of course that makes sense, but we're not seeing any evidence of law enforcement in any of these videos. Can you shed some light on that?
Well, the extent to which police assist on these occasions varies widely. I mean, I remember when I was speaking at DePaul University, the university administrators told Chicago PD not to intervene when protesters stormed the stage, snatched the mic, and swung for my face. And that was 6 months ago. Universities have a long time to come up with responses to this. And by and large, there seems to be some weird policing strategies going on. I mean, I can only tell you what I've heard from my team and what I saw this evening, it seems like it was a very hands-off approach until the very last minute. Let it burn, let them wear themselves out, and we'll only intervene at the very, very last moment. I'm not in a position to speculate. I don't want to cast aspersions or to engage in conspiracy theory, but it did not seem to me as though, everything was being done that could possibly be done to allow this event to proceed.
Well, the videos certainly suggest that you're right. Again, we don't see anybody trying to hold back the crowd or stop the fires.
I will also say that it was the police it was the police, as far as I can tell, who made the call to cancel the event. The college Republicans and the university administrators had not made that call. I certainly hadn't made that call. I would have proceeded with this event in almost any circumstance, unless there was a significant threat to my audience or my team. But it was the police who made the decision.
We should be clear that police departments across the country take their orders from elected officials, and they don't necessarily make these decisions autonomously. And I don't want to overstate the significance of this. This is a peaceful, nice country filled with peaceful, nice people. But there does seem to be an escalation of this kind of political violence, and that's exactly what it is. It's political violence designed to prevent people from giving their political opinions. Do you see that? Does this kind of thing appear to be escalating in the last couple of years?
Absolutely, and I think a lot of these protesters know they can't get at the president. They know they can't get at Trump now because now he's the president. Even when he was the president like before that, they can't really get to him. So they pick the next best target. I'm a very outspoken speaker. I'm a big fan of his. I annoy, the feminists and the Black Lives Matter guys probably almost as much as Trump does, certainly on college campuses. So they go for the next best thing. They go for the target they can get to, or the person that they can get in physical proximity with, the person they think they can scare. Well, they don't scare me. I will continue to give college talks until the day I drop dead. But one of the things that I'm, of course, at the mercy of is decisions made by police to sort of let them get out of hand and then evacuate me from the building, which I don't have very much control over.
So, just to ask you a personal question, you're obviously an immigrant to this country. Our viewers can hear by your accent, and you grew up in the UK, where there is no First Amendment. When you came to the United States, I assume, like most immigrants, you believed your views would be protected by our famous First Amendment. Have you found that to be true?
I have been so shocked coming out. So I work for Breitbart, which is obviously an American media company. I'm here on a visa, actually. And, I've been so shocked at America, which I thought was going to be the sort of bastion of free speech, this sort of, land of the free, home of the brave, this place where you could say, do, and be anything. And I've discovered that, in fact, higher education, American college campuses really are some of the most oppressive places for free expression and free creativity of anywhere that I have experienced anywhere in Europe. And let me tell you, some of you are very censorious. There are places there are police forces in various bits of England that say, misogyny is going to be against the law. You can't be offensive on the internet or we'll arrest you. We're not that far away from that sort of atmosphere, certainly culturally in America. The progressive left now has had this stranglehold over the entertainment industry, news, almost all the other big institutions of social power in this country for so long that the chilling effect on ordinary citizens is massive. And in academia, it is particularly terrible. Trump's election, I hope, is going to shake this up a bit and allow people to speak a little more freely. But if tonight is any indication, the left is not going to give this up without a fight.
So, it's interesting, and I'm sure you know this, even though you didn't grow up here. Traditionally, the left styled itself as defenders of free speech. Berkeley, as we noted earlier, and ironically, is the birthplace of the free speech, famously the free speech movement. Have you found allies on the American left who say, I may not agree with your conclusions, but I will, in the famous formulation, do anything to make sure you're allowed to express them? Has anybody stood up on the left for your free speech rights?
In public life, absolutely not. Not a single journalist from the left, not a single politician from the left, not a single cultural figure or celebrity from the left. Nobody has had the balls to do so in public because they know what would happen to them. They know what would happen when Mike and BuzzFeed and Fox, got a hold of them and got their teeth into them. They know that it would destroy their careers to stick up for anybody who steps off the ideological reservation. However, privately, thousands of people, and not just people who come to my shows, who come up to me in the the meet and greet afterwards and say, thank you so much. I don't agree really with anything that you say, but it was really important for me to be here because I think my own side's gone mad. I get thousands of people like that write to me, come up to me in the street. It's absolutely astonishing, and it's how I know that we're on the cusp of something exciting. It's how I know that we're going to win this, even if we have some ugly incidents like this evening, because the left is now acting like a dog that has just been kicked that knows it's about to get another one to the head. It is lashing out in its sort of angry, wounded death throes, if you like. behaving as tyrants always do when they're backed into a corner with violence and hysterics, unable to hear, unable to think.
And I admire your optimism. I do, and I wish I shared it.
I'm the only person on the right in America that is optimistic about this, but I really am, because you've got to remember, BuzzFeed, for instance, which I think is the great cancer of American media establishment. You've got to remember, I mean, this is a very generational thing. People my age, I'm 32, people my age are the problem, right? Bitter, middle-aged BuzzFeed bloggers, the social justice loons are the problem. But if you look at younger kids, if you look at, my fans start at 12, 13, 14 years old, and they email me, and they tell me, my parents would kill me if they knew that I watched you on YouTube. My parents would murder me if they knew I was a fan of yours, but I love you, but I hate BuzzFeed. I get hundreds of emails like that. So I really do believe my generation, which is, particularly homogeneously far left in these censorious, school marmish, nannying, pearl-clutching sort of ways. My generation is having kids now, and those kids really don't like this stuff very much. So I am optimistic, even if it's a sort of long-term optimism.
Right. Well, and I'm glad you are. On the other hand, and we're speaking to Milo Yiannopoulos, your speech was just canceled tonight because of violence designed to stop you from speaking. And moreover, our understanding is that a subsequent speech, a speech in future days you were set to give, has also been canceled. And so it seems to me,
yeah, but look at the consequences. Okay. Look at the consequences that this is going to be, right? University of Missouri pandering to race hustlers and hucksters. What was the result? Alumni donations went down by 30 million, and they had to close 2 dormitories because admissions went down so much. There is a consequence to these institutions. The American higher education marketplace is exactly that, a marketplace, the competition for students. And I get letters all the time, and admittedly, all I can do is tell from, the wave of stuff that comes in my inbox. But I get letters from people all the time, and really serious, big donors who say, I'm not writing checks to my old college anymore because I see what's happening on these campuses. When this stuff hits the news, like tonight is now national news, and every network is carrying that. When stuff like this happens, people start to ask questions, and they start to reconsider sending their kids to these colleges in the first place, donating to these colleges, and whether these colleges deserve the revered position that we afford them in society. I think, tonight is odious and a horrible spectacle and very humiliating for American higher education. But I would like to think that it will have a silver lining, and I like to think that that good will come of it. And that was the purpose of my tour in the first place. My purpose of my tour was to go out there and see really what the limits of free speech on American campuses really were. And I found out actually you can't say very much at all without people getting upset. But
that's apparent.
Everybody can see it now.
So really quickly, we've got about 30 seconds left before we're going to take a break,
sure.
Milo, and thank you for this. Have you, in your travels, met anyone on the left who has said, I want to debate you on the issues. I disagree, and here's my view. Or has it been like this?
Never. It's, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're a homophobe. Ridiculously. I mean, they call me a gay homophobe, whatever. Name-calling, slander, slurs, insults, and now violence. They never want to debate because they're scared of losing. They don't have the facts on their side. And for 30 years, the left has been able to bully people into silence by name-calling, and they've forgotten how to argue.